أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. قال: باب الصلح. وعن عمرو بن عوف المزني رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: الصلح جائز بين المسلمين إلا صلحا حرم حلالا أو أحل حراما، والمسلمون على شروطهم إلا شرطا حرم حلالا أو أحل حراما. ومثله عن أبي هريرة. So this chapter is on reconciliations of dispute. And when you talk about reconciliation, there is reconciliation between the spouses, between Muslims and non-Muslims, between people who are fighting. This is something that specifically talks about financial transactions, like when there is dispute, mediation and settlement, basically. So that's the settlement. That's specifically what it talks about. So Amr ibn Auf radiallahu anhu says, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says that the settlement between the Muslims and between anyone, this is the Muslims obviously, because they're talking about their community at that time. The Prophet ﷺ is addressing his own community. So it's permissible. The settlement between Muslims is permissible. And what that means, that when there is dispute, it is allowable for everyone to give up some of their rights in order to reach middle grounds and agree on something. So someone has $100,000 that they bought for something, and they disagreed on the price. So it is okay to say, you know what, I'm just going to give it for $75,000 now. So that is not exactly the right he has, but this is a settlement. So it is okay to give up some of your rights in order to reach an agreement, basically. And normally, every person gives up some of their rights. So that's the concept of mediation, and no one obviously is going to take 100% of what they claim. So this is permissible, except what makes the haram halal or the haram halal. So you cannot say, you know what, I'm going to do this, but at the same time you cannot buy this property. This is not your business if he wants to buy this property or not buy this property. Or you cannot talk to this person anymore. You cannot do business with this person anymore. This is not your job, if they want to make business with that person or not. So, قال والمسلمون على شروطهم. Also, if there are any conditions or contingencies in an agreement, whether it's verbal or written, people should respect it. The Prophet ﷺ saying that the Muslims should abide by the tenets of the agreement, the contingencies they agreed on, except a contingency that would make the halal haram, or vice versa. Same examples that we have given. And the sulh, the settlement, obviously when there is a dispute, is valid even without knowing who has the right. So just to resolve the issue and put the dispute behind. طيب, next hadith. We're going to read the whole chapter today, because we didn't read for 2 weeks, right? The chapter is 3 hadith. So. قال وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لا يمنع جار جاره أن يغرز خشبة في جداره. ثم يقول أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه: ما لي أراكم عنها معرضين والله لأرمين بها بين أكتافكم. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, no person or no neighbor should prevent their neighbors from having, the beams of the roof, lean on their own roof, right? In the olden days, how they built, they would use these wood beams, so they put it horizontal, and it sticks out to the neighbors. So this is a sunnah that you should allow your neighbors to do it, and no one should prevent it. So Abu Hurairah was addressing the people, not the Sahaba, the people came after, and they didn't know about this, that no neighbor should prevent their neighbors from utilizing their wall or their roof for their beams. And he said, if someone does it, I'm going to put it on their shoulders, meaning an exaggeration how serious that is. قال وفي رواية فنكسوا رؤوسهم. So everyone went like that for not following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So there is la darar wa la dirar. No one should cause harm to their neighbors, but at the same time, when the neighbor needs something, then you should fulfill it. And the last hadith for the chapter, وعن أبي حميد الساعدي رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يحل لامرئ أن يأخذ عصا أخيه بغير طيب نفس منه. So Abu Humayd al-Sa'idi said, the Prophet ﷺ said, no person should take any amount of money, even a stick, from his brother without complete satisfaction and agreement. So any money you take from a person without their agreement, without their consent, is haram. ولا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل وتدلوا بها إلى الحكام. You shouldn't basically acquire any money unlawfully without the satisfaction of your brother. And the hadith is very clear, I think. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Is this talking about when you cause him, he will give you the money, but you sort of like Hiraj, when you...
This doesn't apply. You're talking about donations.
Not
or
necessarily.
Yeah, that's if it's not, if you take it without his complete satisfaction and permission, that is not right.
Say, for example, you ask for it or something, but in a public situation where he feels that if he declines, he might be...
Give me a car, I need this car, and he puts you in awkward situations. So you say, no, this is not allowable.
Or even in fundraising.
And you can walk it back if you want. You can say, you know what, I don't feel I want to give it to you, and you take it back.
Even in fundraising with Islamic causes, this is a tactic that is maybe learned from the Westerners to pressure.
The Westerns don't pressure you, actually.
Sorry?
They don't pressure you in the West. It's only the Muslims who pressure you.
Yeah, so the idea is to corner someone almost psychologically, so that they are like the example that Brother Nawaz is giving. And so some people may not completely be happy about giving at least the amount, but they feel obligated to do that. So does that come under the same definition?
You're the one who makes the decision, and you shouldn't feel that pressure, honestly. So just learn that. So what? They can put the pressure. If I don't feel comfortable giving it, if it's not completely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if I cannot afford it, don't feel that pressure. So just learn that tactic as well. They can talk as much as they want. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. And you don't feel it's the right cause, it's not the right cause.
Yeah, that's for the giver, but the ones who are asking for it should also be educated
right.
that there's only so much, that they can, because like you said, that you cannot take any money from your brother without his complete satisfaction, which is basically inside.
Well, that's different because they're not taking it for themselves, they're taking it for a public cause, right? So the one who's doing the fundraising is also thinking this is a ibadah, they're doing their best in order to get money for what they think is a good cause, but what might be a good cause for one person is not the same for you, right?
Or how much somebody can afford, the individual.
Right, exactly. It's like, who's gonna start with $100,000? I mean, you don't know what's the situation of that person, what their commitments are,
And then a question about the second hadith, it was about nobody should not not allow the neighbor. What would be a good example in contemporary times for that? Because I know in our country, sometimes if I have a shop, it's customary for me to spread out my stuff beyond my legal, and they think it's normal, even taking up some of the public space. So would that fall under that?
no, I mean, the public space is public space and should be respected actually, because now you're causing harm to the public, and that is something serious.
So the hadith was about what you said, don't stop your neighbor from spreading. What exactly was it?
The wood beam, for the roof.
I didn't understand
You've
that.
never seen an old house, an old home, how they build?
So does it actually spread out?
Yeah, because you need a place to
Anchored.
anchor it on, right? It sticks out.
Two beams, two columns, and one beam.
Yeah.
So it actually spreads out to the neighbor's
Yeah, you
airspace?
have to stretch it out a couple of feet maybe, or even more, so it so it's anchored well and it's situated in the place.
So the idea is that one should not be overly strict in terms of limiting your neighbor.
You shouldn't limit
from-
your neighbor from using that, from using your own space.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to transplant it to modern times, what
Yeah.
would be the...
I mean, common use is like when someone has a farm, and this happened during the time of Umar actually, and it happens in our days. You have a farm and you want to get like a stream of water, and it has to go from the river through someone else's land, from someone else's farm. They cannot stop you from doing that. Right? So someone tried to do that during Umar, and Umar told them you have to, because there is no other way for them to water their farm except getting it from the river through your land or through someone else's land.
Sheikh, is it permissible to have a non-compete clause in your employment agreement?
Yes, it is allowable. Yes. Because these are conditions, if I don't want you to threaten my business, so there is harm that can happen. This is very common in practice, Someone works for another person, they get good at it, and then in 2 years they open a shop across the street. That's not right. So the non-compete is allowable actually.
Sheikh, is ما أخذ بسيف الحياء فهو رد hadith?
It is not a hadith. As far as I know, it is not a hadith. It is very common, saying. I have to check on it, inshallah, but as far as I remember, it is not hadith.
المعنى
ما أخذ بسيف الحياء فهو
المعنى
Oh, meaning that
It's
whatever
very close to
is
the
close to the hadith, whoever takes it without المعنى صحيح, yes.
What did you say? I didn't know.
Anything you take from your brother with putting him in a bashful situation out of his bashfulness, it is considered not allowable. You put him, like you said, you corner him in an awkward position, and now he's feeling shy, and then out of shyness he gives out the money, then it is not allowable. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه.